Forget penalties. Forget fines. Denny Hamlin just told NASCAR the real solution is to do nothing at all and let the drivers handle it. Denny Hamlin has had enough of NASCAR stepping in every time two drivers get mad at each other. And this week, he basically told them to back off and let the drivers handle it themselves. It all started at Chicagoland this past Sunday during the Euro 400. On lap 47, Shane van Gisbergen went into turn 3 and clipped the left rear of Austin Hill's car. A lot of fans thought it was payback. Even Richard Childress, Hill's team owner, believed it was revenge for what happened earlier at San Diego, where Hill wrecked van Gisbergen. So the whole garage was buzzing about whether NASCAR should punish somebody for it. Hamlin, a 3-time Daytona 500 winner, jumped on his podcast called Actions Detrimental and made his feelings crystal clear. He doesn't want NASCAR playing referee for stuff like this. He wants drivers to settle their own problems out on the track, the old-fashioned way. This idea is called self-policing, and it used to be a normal part of racing for years. Here's how Hamlin put it. He said, "I am a very firm fan of self-policing, and I think that has to be a thing in the sport, because if you can't punch someone in the face without getting a fine, and they always keep you separated, security's in there, you got the teams getting involved. If you can't handle it off the racetrack, which I'm not really in favor of, because there are other people, you gotta let people self-police on the racetrack." So, what does that actually mean? Hamlin explained it in plain words. He said, "And this is how you self-police. You let someone know you mess with me, and you're going to get it. You're gonna get it, and so just think about that before you mess with me, or you put me, or you wreck me, or you run into me." So this is what NASCAR racing has been for quite some time as a self-policing sport. Hamlin thinks the sport lost its way somewhere along the line. He said, "And it just got into a weird spot over the last 5 to 6 to 7 years where we started talking about, well, these are deliberate wrecks, these are intentional wrecks, and we have to penalize that." In other words, NASCAR started handing out fines and penalties for stuff that drivers used to just handle among themselves. Now, to be fair, Hamlin isn't saying he loves wrecking. He just wants the old rules of the road back, where drivers know that if they mess with someone, they'll get it right back. When Hamlin broke down the actual crash between van Gisbergen and Hill, he didn't sugarcoat it. He compared it to an earlier wreck in the same race where Zane Smith hit Carson Hocevar. He said van Gisbergen's move looked far more aggressive. Then he really drove the point home. He said, "When he thought that Ryan Preece committed murder to Ty Gibbs, I don't know, this was, what's above murder? Premeditated? Yeah, premeditated, that's a harsher sentence." Hamlin also said the data backs up how it looked. He explained that the car's tracking information, called SMT data, would clear up any questions NASCAR had. He said, "The data would argue that SVG went into the corner with no intent to slow up. It's not like there was a hole there. Basically, van Gisbergen never lifted off the gas, and there was no open space for him to aim for." After the race, van Gisbergen did say sorry. In a short interview on pit road, he apologized to Hill and to Richard Childress Racing for wrecking their day. But here's where things got interesting, and it's the part that made Hamlin laugh. When reporters asked van Gisbergen about the crash, he stayed calm and cool the whole time. He explained what happened by saying, "I was shooting for the bottom, trying to get clean air. I was so tight, and he just chopped my nose and got in the wall. So, sorry about that." Sorry to his guys, they're always nice people, and it happens. When they asked if he did it on purpose, he simply said, "No, really good." Hamlin says it's the way van Gisbergen talks, so flat and serious, that makes it even funnier. He added, "It's like it's a normal thing, and that's the way he talks. I've talked enough with SVG to know that's how casual he is, no matter what. Oh, he's so funny. God, he's funny. Of course, you can bet Austin Hill wasn't laughing one bit." So what did NASCAR decide to do? On Tuesday, they announced there would be no penalty for either driver, but they're not letting it go completely. NASCAR's managing director of racing communication, Mike Ford, explained the call. He said, "There will not be a penalty to the 97 on this one." But obviously hearing the Austin Hill interview after, and Elton Sawyer did talk to Austin yesterday, Monday. So we will have Shane van Gisbergen and Austin Hill in the hauler this weekend to have a discussion. Ford even admitted that fans get confused when NASCAR does this. He said, "I've noticed social media chatter after we have hauler talk episodes where we don't penalize someone, but if you have them in the hauler as well, why don't you penalize them? Since you didn't like it all that much." He answered that there just wasn't enough proof it was done on purpose. He said, "There was nothing definitive that said this was 100% intentional." And when it came to hill bumping Van Gisbergen under caution to get back at him, NASCAR let that slide too. Ford said they saw it as pure emotion. He said, "No penalty there. Definitely is emotion. I would have done the same thing 30 years ago when I was a driver. We are letting that one go as well." Funny enough, that decision kind of proves Hamlin's whole point about letting drivers handle their own business. But the crashes weren't the only thing that had Hamlin fired up. He also went after NASCAR over how badly the fans were treated at Chicagoland. Between the pouring rain and a total parking nightmare, it was a rough weekend for anyone in the stands. Hamlin stood up for those fans. He said, "I want them to work on their infrastructure." He pointed out that rain in that area is nothing new. He said, "I get it that it rained, but it rains in that area. We've been there in that area at that time. Remember Chicago? Like it rains and it rains a lot." His point was simple. NASCAR knew this could happen, so they should have been ready. Then he described just how bad it got. He said, "So, you got to regrade your surfaces, or pave it, or put gravel down or something." It's like, man, I took a video of like the car graveyard of the people that had to leave their car there from Saturday. And a car graveyard is pretty much what it was. Parking lots A through H and P all flooded with muddy water and became useless. Traffic control blocked the turning lanes and forced everyone into one single line, so nothing moved. Thousands of fans got stuck in a field a couple of miles from the track. Many were trapped for more than 2 hours, and by the time they got free, the race was basically over. What did those fans miss? Chase Briscoe grabbing his first win of the season for Joe Gibbs Racing. He held off his own teammates, Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin, to do it, beating Bell to the line by just 0.276 seconds. Briscoe was thrilled afterward. He said, "What an unbelievable weekend! What a cool weekend to win a NASCAR race. Felt like I was struggling in practice and qualifying." It was his 6th career win, and it made him the 3rd Joe Gibbs Racing driver to reach victory lane in 2026.